Welcome to the Full-Time FBA Show. In each episode, it's our goal to help you turn part-time hours into a full-time income selling almost anything on Amazon. And now, your hosts of the show, Stephen and Rebecca Smotherman.
Hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Full-Time FBA Show. Today, we're on episode number 294, and we're talking about action steps for every Amazon seller to increase sales today. And with me to talk about this episode is Stephen, my podcast co-host and business partner, and my husband. Hello, Stephen.
Wait, increase sales today?
Yeah, well, I was going to ask if you could tell that I had like a double meaning in the title.
Let's see. Action steps for every Amazon seller to increase sales today. So increase sales today and action steps to take today.
That's it.
There we go. Okay.
You can read it both ways. You can read it both ways.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's get into it on the Full-Time FBA Show. We are really eager to get started talking about today's topic because it's one that literally every Amazon seller can benefit from. It's not just for newbies or just for experienced sellers either. This is something every single one of us, including me and Stephen, who've been selling for over a decade, we all need to make sure we're doing these things today so that we can increase our sales.
Today.
But before we get into that, I want to make sure you're subscribed to the Full-Time FBA newsletter. At least once a week, we send you an email filled with Amazon strategies, links to training opportunities, coupon codes, and other things geared to help you turn part-time hours into a full-time income selling on Amazon. To subscribe, go to fulltimefba.com/subscribe and get signed up. You'll get an email directly from Full-Time FBA at least once a week filled with valuable information and success strategies.
All right, well, let's get into it. Today, I'm going to stop saying today way too often, except right now. We're talking today about action steps for every Amazon seller to take so you can increase your sales. And these steps should lead to a pretty rapid increase in sales if you make sure that you're dialed into these practices today. Okay, I'm saying today way too much, but that's my fault because these are things that you can be doing every day in your Amazon business. Some of these are one-time step kind of things that you need to take. Others are things that you need to do on a consistent basis. So let's start with 2 action steps that are a quote one and done step. That should be good. This should give us an instant leg up. So the first one is to make sure that you have upgraded your Amazon seller account to a professional account. We've talked about this recently on episode 293, and so it's really important that we're mentioning it again today. You really must have a professional seller account if you want to be serious about your success selling on Amazon. Having an individual account instead of a professional one is going to only limit your potential. With a professional seller account, you'll be able to sell an unlimited number of inventory items without a per item charge. And you're going to unlock the benefits of numerous tools and services that are only available to professional seller accounts, not to mention the benefits of having time in the buy box and the automatic increase in sales. And so the first thing you need to do is to make sure that you are using a professional seller account with Amazon.
The second step you can take today, and it's really a one-time step, is make sure you're committed to selling via FBA, Fulfilled by Amazon, not the Merchant Fulfilled program or FBM, Fulfilled by Merchant. FBA is where it's at on Amazon. If you want to maximize your potential for profits, and if you don't, why are you here? But if you want to truly build a sustainable business and make the best profits possible on Amazon, you need to take advantage of the FBA program. Let Amazon do the heavy lifting for you. Many people get sidetracked by thinking that FBM is going to make them more money because the fees are lower, but that's not the best way to look at the 2 programs. You might make more profits per item when it comes to FBM fees, but overall, the FBA program is going to allow you to scale in a way that FBM just cannot. And that ability to scale and to outsource as much as possible is what's going to help your business grow. This is another topic we've covered recently in episode 291, so I won't go into a lot more details here, but just know that you're really limiting yourself if you go the FBM route. And if you want to get an immediate boost in sales today, you'll send your inventory to the FBA warehouses instead of trying to fulfill orders yourself.
All right, so let's get into some steps that you can take starting today that are going to increase your sales over the long term if you consistently stick with them on a daily or weekly basis. And the first is this: schedule the time to work regularly on your FBA business. And it seems pretty basic, but it's such a huge deal. Honestly, you'd be surprised by the number of people who we talk to who come to us for help with their business and they don't keep a regular work schedule. This is the number one factor that I want all of my coaching students to take seriously. You have to be consistent in scheduling your work time if you want your business to grow. I mean, are you running a profitable business or are you playing around with an expensive hobby? Seriously, if you want to do one thing today to increase your FBA sales, get out your calendar and plan out the times that you're going to work on your business over the next 4 weeks. You need to do this whether or not you're working at your FBA business in the evenings while you're caring for kids during the day, or maybe you work a 9-to-5 job, or whether you run your FBA business as your full-time job. If you don't put it on the calendar, it's not going to get done. It won't just happen. You need to intentionally plan time to work on your Amazon business, in particular, the time that you're going to source for inventory. And when you have a consistent schedule for sourcing inventory, your sales will go up.
And the fourth step I want to mention goes right along with that. You need to schedule time to work on your business regularly, and you also need to send in inventory on a consistent basis. In the Amazon selling world, we call it feeding the beast. Amazon is a very hungry beast, and it needs to be fed all the time so that it rewards you with happy sales. You want to make sure you're sourcing inventory consistently, but also consistently sending that inventory into the FBA warehouses so that it can go live and get you more sales. Consistency is such an important factor in running your Amazon business, in any business really. But the more consistent you are week in and week out, making sure you have shipments headed to the warehouse, the more consistent your sales will be. You'll be able to get a steady cash flow this way, and you'll be able to experience growing sales rather than up and down sales. I know there's going to be times when things are lighter and you're not able to send in as much inventory, whether it's because of sickness or planned vacation or whatever reason. But if at all possible, keep a consistent schedule for sending in inventory on a regular basis so that your sales and profits can grow.
Next, the fifth thing that you can do today to increase your sales is to make sure that your inventory is priced competitively. This is something you can literally stop this podcast to do right now. Be sure you come back and finish the episode if you want to do that. But it's an easy step that I always like to recommend when sellers ask the question, what can I do today to get more sales? You have to make sure your prices are competitive. This is something you can do as a, quote, set it and forget it step when you're listing and pricing inventory to send in, but it's also something that you can do right now with your inventory that's already at an Amazon warehouse and you haven't touched in a while. You haven't sold it in a while. Go into your Seller Central account, look up the inventory that you have at an FBA warehouse, and if it's been there for a little bit longer, make sure that it's priced competitively. Do some manually repricing today and see what happens. You could end up selling items within an hour or two of repricing. If you have a high number of inventory items in stock, then you definitely should be using a repricer so that you don't have to go in manually and reprice on a regular basis. We use the automatic repricer called Be Cool, and you can check that out at fulltimefba.com/Be Cool, spelled BQOOL. Just be sure to check out the link in the instructions of this episode, show notes page, to make sure that you get our personal Be Cool repricing rules as well.
Our next piece of advice for increasing your sales today is to make sure you're focused on selling replens. A replen is an item that you can buy again and again to sell again and again. And replens are the number one way to make consistent and ever-increasing sales through FBA. If you're selling one-off items you find at garage sales, thrift stores, estate sales, clearance aisles, wherever, you need to make the steps today to learn about selling replens instead and how this can revolutionize your Amazon business. You can stop reinventing the wheel. You can stop the hustle of spending hours and hours a day looking for one more home run item. You're still going to need to search for replens, but once you have a good number of them in your arsenal, you can spend more time reordering rather than constantly scavenging. Mm-hmm. We have podcast episodes on this topic if you search our podcast page, and we've also got the Reseller's Guide to Replens that will teach you all about it.
Yeah, it's an amazing course. We highly recommend it. So one last step I want to make sure that you take today to increase your sales is that you need to learn how to use Keepa to make smart sourcing decisions. Seriously, you must learn Keepa if you want to find better inventory to increase your sales, and if you want to have inventory set at the best price to increase your dollar amount for your sales and revenue. It's seriously a game changer. If you are not using Keepa, you're making blind decisions. Again, if you want to make some sales today, go to Seller Central, go to your Seller Central account and look through your older inventory items and see if the Keepa data tells you anything about how you should reprice to get a quicker sale, or to earn more money by raising the price because the lower priced sellers are about to sell out. And if you've been selling for years and you're thinking, this is too basic, I use Keepa all the time. So take this as a challenge. Look through 10 to 20 of your current ASINs and check the Keepa graph to see if there's any changes that you can make to your prices to increase your sales today.
So those are our recommendations of steps you can take today to increase your Amazon sales. And we love sharing our strategies with you. So again, make sure you're signed up for the Full-Time FBA newsletter at fulltimefba.com/subscribe. And make sure you're actually following through and taking steps today. Notice we did not include listen to a podcast on our list of action steps to increase your sales. Obviously, we love podcasts and we find them valuable to our business and yours, but they're only as valuable as the actions you take after you listen. So think through these 7 things we listed and pick 3 to 4 of them to implement in your business today. Literally today. Do it. Go do it now.
Today.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Full-Time FBA Show. As always, you can find all of the links we mentioned and the show notes for this episode at fulltimefba.com/294 because we're on episode number 294.
And next week on the podcast, we're going to be celebrating our 6th podiversary. Yes, that's a real word, 6 years of podcasting. So our topic that we're going to cover next week, what has changed on Amazon in our 6 years of podcasting? We'll dive into that next week on the Full-Time FBA Show.
That's all for this episode of the Full-Time FBA Show. So head over to fulltimefba.com/podcast, where you'll find the show notes and links from this episode. While you're there, subscribe to our newsletter where you'll get several free downloads of our popular and helpful Amazon FBA resources. Now, take action on what you've learned today so you can find success at turning part-time hours into a full-time income with Amazon FBA.